Hi, I'm Emma Higgins, and I'm the writer and director of Sweetness, and I am so excited that we will be sharing our film at this year's Fantasy Film Fest.
Could you explain exactly or elaborate where the idea came from?
I started working in music videos in the music industry when I was a teenager. So I had the unique perspective of both sides of the coin, I think, in there, where I got to see some artists and in the way that the music is industry is a business and they're at the same time too, they're manipulating their audiences at times too with the marketing and what we're doing and that kind of stuff. And then, but they need the fans on the other side of it. And that's a very healthy relationship at its best is the fan and artist. But it really was from working around the music industry for as many years as I did. And I did, a lot of music videos then is kind of how I cut my teeth as a director. And those music videos allowed me to find my voice, but also gave me this concept for just a world. We've seen lots of music movies, but it's such a wonderful world to exist in. And it's also, I don't think we'd had a movie about the fan in this way, where it's, I think, a little bit more sympathetic. And I would like to believe complicated, I think, too. So I wanted to do something that wasn't so, just certain people are just crazy and fans are just crazy. There's more to it was I guess the nugget of the idea.
Let's talk about Peyton and why you made him Norwegian, for example.
Mm-hmm. Because we found a wonderful actor who's Norwegian. Really, the role was not necessarily written to be that, but found Herman, he just ticked all the boxes. He's a fantastic actor. He had the darkness of the character and the charisma of the character, and so he could flip both sides, like on stage presence, where you get why he's someone that a person would fall in love with.
Yeah, and then, well, Riley, the fan, where did the inspiration come from to build her character?
Yeah, there's a lot of me in there. I think that I certainly don't relate to the bigger mistakes and choices she makes. I don't have that much violence in me, but I do have the feeling of, that teenage longing, that feeling for belonging and that desire to be loved, which, and find love. And also, I think that there was something, certainly finding fans that I've encountered in the world. And when I worked at a record label, we'd get fan mail and things too. So you get letters. And so the voice of those letters and that would arrive for bands, and they'd be just pouring their heart out and talking about how the music had saved them or it was so important to them for these reasons. And that, I think, is a good thing. That's what you want to have when you're an artist, is people who connect with what you're putting into the world. But I felt that, she just was, I wanted to, I'd say there's a lot of me in there too. I wanted to just see what a character who is, I call Sweetness a love story, who's looking for love in the wrong ways. So I feel very called out in some of these things when people are like, "Oh, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm working on it. I'm trying to realign myself so that we can have healthier connections and healthier love, and not, fantasize about people, as well as one of her very, I think, human.
Before the casting, did you have a special idea how this character should look like?
I think that one of the things that's interesting about the character, the only thing I had is that she should have a sort of, there's innocence and youth. She has to look young. So part of my biggest beef always in teen movies is that, they're played by 27-year-olds or something, and they look too like together, and I wanted the characters to feel really like awkward and young and realistic for what teens look like and act like. So, Kate was older than the character when she played it, but she's got a youthful appearance that contrasts what she's doing, because you don't think, I think girls are supposed to be, that's the title, sweet and everything nice, and they're just polite. And so you don't anticipate that darkness from them. So just something that would contrast. That's a good question.
There are a lot of flowers on the wallpapers. How come?
That's well, yeah, we did shoot in a small town, so we had the base of all those houses was already there for us. But that's, my production designer Electa Parado is I she just has a wonderful eye for style, and I think that one of the things for us was distinguishing the spaces because there's two main houses in there, making them feel like they're lived in, they have personality. Each I like the maximalist style in making choices. I think it sticks in audiences' minds, even if it is perhaps more than you would encounter in a normal space. Especially these days, modern houses are so white and plain and that. But I think it's just I really love spaces to feel. Like the characters who inhabit them, and also that I feel it does so much for actors and it does so much for audiences. I believe that places carry energy, and if you can create those spaces, it seeps into the film and the emotional experience, not only of the actors but the people viewing. So I think Electa really did a beautiful job creating spaces that make you feel a certain way, sometimes as uncomfortable. I think there's a bathroom set that's just covered with this crazy wallpaper, and this it feels too much, and it's like almost grating in a way that, but that scene is where some stuff goes down. So um, it creates an emotional response, and I love when spaces can do that.
A little bit more broader about the visual concept or the aesthetics of the film. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? What kind of did you have a color system, or did you? What were the most important aspects of it?
One of the things that I set out to, or we kind of used as a touchstone throughout the project, was to make it two parts: one horror and one girliness, and those things generally exist maybe in opposition or something there too. So keeping things that felt like a dark but then feminine. So yes, lots of flowers, lots of pinks, lots of sort of like lace and things like that too. But then blacks and a lot of darkness and just sort of dirtiness in the color scheme. Definitely pulling from that more emo era too, where we had a palette that was primarily in purple, green, pink, and black. Very Avril Lavigne. 2006. So that was the color palette. And then just the overall look of it was wanting to create discomfort and tension often. There's humor in the film too, but it also comes from making people very often uncomfortable just with the awkwardness of the characters, the awkwardness of the situations. So using the camera where we could, holding, building, playing with the music, to create humor and tension.
Yeah, well, films about fans and fandom. There are a few. There are also a few horror ones. Have you been inspired by by some in particular?
This is a German film, which you could probably say, have you seen this one? It's in German, it's Der Fan. Which this is 1982, West Germany. So I have that here. Eckhard Schmidt, a wonderful film, very influential to me, I would say. Um, other fan movies. I wouldn't say I had a lot of other fan movies that were influences to me. I would say that Der Fan was, and then the other things that really inspired me. Carrie, the original Carrie, that her sort of misunderstood character and her character arc. That you feel she's both the villain and the hero of the film is really, I think, a similar parallel to what we have. We watched Gone Girl. That's another sort of complex hero villain. Ginger Snaps is one of my favorite movies. It's a Canadian film, just about not belonging. So there's a lot of influence that I felt were really good, and we watched a lot of movies in pre-production with the crew and the cast to continue to sit back into that space. That space that feels sometimes difficult to go to. I don't know what your teenage years were like, but they're challenging. And sometimes when you go back there emotionally and you watch an old movie that you know used to watch at that time, or you listen to a song that you're kind of transported. And I think that sitting in that space kept, grounding us in what it, the character has to feel sad, and it motivates everything, and you have to tap into that hurt and pain. So it's a tough place to go to, but I really find that the other things that we were watching and listening to while making the movie helped us go there.
Do you think there are positive and negative ways or sides on being such a fan?
Well, I think that the positives of being a fan is that you can find community and you can find a sense of belonging on there. I'm a fan of a lot of things, and films, and we have horror conventions and all the stuff that, and the film festivals, and I'm sure the audiences that come to your film festival stuff too. We want fans. We like fans because you find other people with similar interests, and especially if your interests are, maybe not the most commonplace, like being a big horror fan or something too. You find just other people who you like and you get along with, so you can find friendships and community. I think that's all very healthy and positive. I think you can do that in a great way. I just do think that we have more of this conversation that continues to come up about the parasocial relationship, where I think the danger happens when you start rejecting more real relationships for fantasy relationships. And I think that's what you see in this film too, is that there's this character who has kind of fabricated an image of someone in a relationship, in her mind of how they should be. And she's rejecting the real life people around her. So she's got a best friend, she's got a father, and she's got a stepmother who's trying, and she's got these relationships with real people who are there, and they're imperfect. And that's how relationships are they are not perfect, and you have to deal with real people. But when you start to live more in that fantasy of this fake person, this person who's just in your phone and in their social media, and you can DM them all the time, you can actually start to feel like you have a relationship, except for you don't have to deal with any of their bullshit, because they're not actually real. So they're perfect to you. So I just think that's the dangers. When fandom can connect us to other human beings, that's good. When it separates us from other humans, that's bad.
But for example, if you think of the work you did with the actors, how did you prepare with them? Or did you do rehearsals? Was there enough time to do so? Would you do that differently for a next project?
Yeah, I think that the rehearsal time was valuable, but also the time that we didn't get to rehearse in any of the locations ever. No. So we got to just do table reads, and our cast is all, over the world. So we just did Zooms. They only met right as we were going to camera. They all came to our filming location, and then we started filming because we couldn't afford to have them for much longer. So introducing them to early so that they can start to understand how they work with each other, work out as many questions with each other. They develop their own relationships, especially the three younger cast in the film. Really connected and did a lot of their work independently to just build trust and understanding of what each of them was going to do and how that would affect the other in a scene. So they were doing that work in advance. Yeah, certainly. I was quite lucky too that these actors were all worked in a similar way, which was, you see certain actors are really in the moment. Certain actors are much more prepared. They want to like try things a lot of different ways. These actors all seemed to, the younger ones, gear on the side of preparedness. So they were very into doing their rehearsals as much as possible. I think it depends on the actors, what I would take away too, because certain people, don't feel that the rehearsal benefits them either. So they might just want to show up and really give it, their all in that moment. But I think that there's something, I really liked it as a writer. I think that was an interesting thing, doing rehearsals, even over Zoom or on a table read, because when you hear someone read it aloud and you hear, an inflection or a way that they do a line that you hadn't thought could be done that way, it totally can change, and it unlocks things for how the scene can go. So if I get to hear it in advance, that means I can, talk to my cinematographer and say, okay, well, now this scene can play this way. And how does that work? And then also get ideas to direct the actors on set, because I'll sort of be able to back pocket a couple different versions of how the scene could go. This could go, you could deliver this line with a bit more spite or anger to it, or you could do it with this more romantic intent, or you could do it with, and so I'll have a couple where I could be like, this time you're being serious, this time you're being flirty, this time you're being, um, so it gave me things in my back pocket to know. I love rehearsals. Uh, I like the moment when you're on set and you get to see magic happen, when you get to see a performer or it's like that's it, and they're in and it's there and it works. That's the high I will be chasing for my whole career. Yeah.
Your background in the music industry, do you think it had some impact on how you made the film or how you visioned the film? For example, the you have quite a fast pace in editing, for example. Do you think that is related to your experience in music industry?
Yeah, I would say so. It gave me a ton of that. I mean, like I said, everything, all of that work is like, it informs my decisions. And I think especially when you're working really on a quick pace film like this, you lean so much on your intuition as a filmmaker. And so that intuition is honed by years of, music videos, commercials, short films, whatever it is, all that, the influence of your life. I talk about, like, it's like the movie Slumdog Millionaire or something too, when he's like, he knows all the questions because he's all of the experiences of his life have led to that moment. And that's how I feel sometimes with that intuition. You don't even have time to guess it, but then I can see sometimes on set, and especially when we get into the edit, I'm like, oh, what I was doing there is almost like I was applying a technique that I'd learned on a music video, or I was doing that because I really liked how it looked on another project in the past. So all those things have, even in the moment, you're just like, I like this. I don't know why. You're just moving so quickly and listening to that intuition. But then when you actually step back, you can see all the pieces that led to that intuition being formed. And then certainly in the edit as well, my editor is someone that I met. I was directing, and she was editing a music video for me, and that was over 10 years ago, and we've been working together ever since. She's a director in her own right, but she also continues to do really big music videos as well as an editor. So she would, the rhythm and pacing, and is I think we're both very influenced by our backgrounds there.